Hi there, good morning. Sherry Schreiber of GetBetter.com with some morning meanderings for you. I've been tweeting about how we trigger our own anxiety. And this is true. Your brain is your stress-producing organ. So when you're thinking you should work harder, do more, um, uh, you're not doing it well enough, perfectly enough. That's your brain doing that to you, and that's what triggers your anxiety. When we feel anxiety in the body, and I did a video on how to soothe and ease your anxiety and other feelings, of course. But when we feel anxiety in the body, we immediately feel the need to go up into our head to analyze the shit out of it. And this is actually what exacerbates it for you. This is what keeps it alive. Because if you think long enough and hard enough, you can always find reasons to attach for this to this very unpleasant feeling you're having in your body. And you think it's a bad and wrong feeling and that you shouldn't be feeling it, so you judge it. And you want to find a damn good reason for feeling it. So you go on this brain search to kind of codify and sanction this sensation coming up in your body. But the truth is, like I talk about in my anxiety disorder article online at getbetter.com, it's called "The Panic Monster Doesn't Live Here Anymore." As I speak about in that article, a lot of people have womb anxiety, what I've coined womb anxiety. They came into this lifetime never feeling safe. They came into this lifetime always waiting for the other shoe to drop. They came into this lifetime, they were born with anxiety. Now, why is this, do you think? Well, I had a client many years ago as an intern, MFT intern, marriage and family therapist intern. And she always had this generalized anxiety. She was also a people pleaser, fixer, caregiver, rescuer type. Pardon me. Go away, sneeze. Okay, I think we're safe. And she was Little Miss Perfect. Always did things perfectly. Had a responsible job, etc., etc. Always chose really bad guys to get involved with, losers, users. But not to digress too much, this gal always had a generalized sense that she wasn't safe in her world. Always. I mean, this was just like the undercurrent. This was the background feeling that she lived with day to day. So one day, my intuition asked me to ask her, to check in with her mother sometime in the not too distant future about what the mother's pregnancy with her was like. Wow. The following week, she came into session with eyes as big as saucers. And she just kept saying, "Oh my God, oh my God," as she walked into my door of my office back then, my intern office. "Oh my God," she said over and over again. And she sat down across from me and she proceeded to tell me that her mother had miscarried her first pregnancy. That baby had miscarried, the first baby, the first pregnancy for her mother. The second pregnancy, she carried full term, but gave birth to a dead baby. I don't know why they didn't induce labor back then, when they knew there was no heartbeat, but they made her wait it out, and she for some reason. I don't understand it to this day. I don't know that that would go on in modern day times. But the mother knew that the baby had died within her womb and that she was going to give birth to a dead baby. So my client was her third pregnancy. And you can only imagine the anxiety, the trepidation, the fast forward thinking to prepare herself for yet another disappointment that was going on. So when my client checked in with her mother about, what was my gestation period like? What was your pregnancy with me like? The mother said to her straight out, I was anxious and nervous and worried to the max every single minute of every single day. So, as you might have read about in some of my articles online, my self-help articles, like Do You Love to Be Needed or Need to Be Loved, or even my borderline personality client article, we form an intimate bond in utero with our mothers. So before we're even born, we're in love with that woman. We have this fierce attachment to her. And as far as we're concerned, there's no separation between her and us. We are her, she is us. So we're absorbing the mother's emotional states in utero while we're developing as a fetus. So whatever emotional states are predominant in this in utero bonding period for us as we're growing inside of her are what we're experiencing on a regular and frequent basis. So if our mother was worried, anxious, nervous, afraid, maybe of her partner, her spouse, whatever. Maybe she's got a spider phobia and is constantly, this is absurd, of course, but constantly afraid that an arachnida attack would happen, that she was going to come upon a spider in her environment. Okay. Whatever it is she's afraid of, whether it's losing another pregnancy or whether it's her husband's going to beat the shit out of her for not cleaning the bathroom well enough, whatever it is, okay, she's living with that emotion predominantly, and so are we, while we're inside of her. So we get very, very acquainted with this feeling. And this feeling then gets interpreted after we come out of the womb as the other shoe's always going to drop. There's something really bad waiting right around the corner. If I feel calm and relatively stable for a minute, something really bad's waiting for me. And then, of course, we have that reinforced throughout our childhood, where every time we feel relatively stable, maybe we have a good moment or two, maybe mom or dad takes us out for an ice cream cone or puts us on a pony for a ride or something like that, and we feel a moment of glee. Well, when you grow up with unstable parents, there's always the other shoe dropping. So we become inured to this. We become accustomed to this. We come to accept this as this is what's true of life. If I feel stable, relatively good, if I experience a few moments of joy or bliss, something really bad's going to happen. Because as children, even minor upsets and setbacks and disappointments felt pretty devastating. We can look back on those now and say, no big deal. My dad promised to take me to Disneyland, and then he felt too tired, or he got sick, or he had to go into work, and I felt disappointed that I didn't get to go to Disneyland. But what you must understand is that through a child's eyes, through a child's experiences, those disappointments are pretty devastating. So what do we do? What do we do to stave off the devastation? We anticipate it. We anticipate disaster. We automatically think of what's the worst that could happen, so we can kind of emotionally prepare ourselves for that kind of outcome. Well, if we don't get that kind of outcome, we're obviously pleasantly surprised and relieved, but at least we got prepared. The subconscious has determined that if I prepare myself for the worst thing that could possibly happen, I'm also prepared for anything else that might come up that might not be, that might not be quite as devastating to deal with for me. If I prepare for the worst, what's the worst that could happen? We go into our mind's eye, we think of what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst that could possibly happen to me? And we determine how we might go about dealing with that if and when it occurs. So we actually set ourselves up for disaster. Because a metaphysical principle is that which you fear is that which you attract, because we can always envision that which we fear. When we envision something, we make it real, we make it tangible, we make it concrete. We start attracting it to us, because fear is a very powerful human emotion. So if we're fearing it, we're attracting it. My father used to say, 97% of the stuff we worry about never comes to fruition. I can tell you, my dears, if you live long enough on this planet, and God willing, you will, you start to learn in a very tangible and concrete way how very true that is. 97% of the stuff we worry about never, ever comes to fruition. So we work ourselves up into a panic. We work ourselves up into a lather, worrying about shit that's never gonna happen. What a bunch of useless, wasted energy. God. So I wrote The Panic Monster Doesn't Live Here Anymore because this is an intricate issue, but it's largely an intricate issue because it's based on early programming. I feel relatively stable. This was me. My childhood set me up for this shit. I feel relatively stable. Things are okay right now. And whoops! Rug gets yanked out from under me again. My mother has to be hospitalized with schizophrenia from the time I was 7 years old onward. In and out of mental institutions, shock therapy, all that stuff. And she was away a lot of the time. So what I did was I sealed myself off in a little bubble so as not to be too disturbed and disrupted by those departures of hers. And I had a good shrink many years ago when I was 20. I finally got to the seat of that. But oh my God. For years I thought, no, I had no attachment to my mother. I had no attachment to her. Well, yeah, I sure as hell did. I had just tucked that away. I denied it. It was too painful to keep that door open with her. We prepare for the worst. Then what happens, incidentally, growing up with unstable parents, remember, this makes us choose unstable partners who we think we can fix and rescue and help and please and all that other shit. So we grow up into adulthood. We marry someone who's personality disordered, very unstable. And while we may have some warm, fuzzy times with them, some really lovely, connected, intimate moments, that unstable partner of ours can't tolerate the good times. And they have to throw a monkey wrench into it because it brings up too much anxiety surrounding attachment for them. And before you know it, right after those good, warm, wonderful, loving, intimate, connected times, the rug gets yanked out from under us all over again. So what this does is it reinforces for us on a subconscious level that after good always comes bad. And this is the mechanism, okay? So now we've had that confirmed and reinforced and codified in our adult life. So why shouldn't we believe it's true? Why shouldn't we go on through life believing that bad always follows good? And so if bad always follows good, boy, don't we have to kind of mentally and emotionally prepare ourselves for that? Setback, that devastation. Don't we have to? Don't we have to sort of ready ourselves emotionally so that we can kind of manage a little bit that devastating feeling when disappointment hits? Sure we do. It's human nature. Most natural thing in the world. So we got people all over the world with panic attacks, anxiety disorder, taking medications for it. It's just so unnecessary. Especially if you realize where this shit comes from. And that this reflex was programmed into you because you just had the rug yanked out from under you too many times. And it set you up for preferring to stay miserable than risking being happy and maybe having to experience disappointment once in a blue moon. Tweeted about this today. I'm going today to see an eye specialist because my eye doctor, when she was assessing me for contact lens prescription and doing the whole, deep eye exam stuff, noticed a couple of anomalies. Now, yeah, there's initial concern. It's like, well, how come that's there? And what do I have to do nutritionally to fix it? But here's the difference between maybe you and me. I don't go immediately to that place of thinking the worst. Oh my God, it's macular degeneration. Maybe I'll lose my eyesight. I'm going to go blind in a few years. And don't do that. I know I'm a pretty healthy chick. Senior chick. And I know I take pretty good care of myself, even though I'm a little self-indulgent now and then about what I eat. But I know I'm in good shape, and I know my emotional body is in really good shape because I've worked a long time on that. I'm building that, maintaining that. So the physical body kind of follows suit. It's just, you heal people on one level, and healing takes place on all kinds of other levels. So that I think has been pretty true for me. So I'm not doing bad for an old broad. But when she said this to me, yeah, I had a moment of concern, and then I went, it's probably benign. Anomalies happen all the time. Every single one of us is carrying around cancer cells. The trick in life is to not live your life in such a way that they start to multiply for you. Cancer cells are just your own natural, normal body cells that are replicating at an abnormal rate of speed. That's all that is, okay? So, anomalies. So I'm going to this doctor because she wants to get a second opinion. And I wouldn't mind one too. Because if it is something serious, well, I guess I'll deal with that when the time comes. I try not to cross bridges before I get to them. I'm going in with this very positive attitude. I know I'm okay. I know I'm okay. I know this is just some little anomaly in the right peripheral edge of my retina and the left peripheral edge of my left retina, and it's no biggie. It's not going to impair my eyesight for the rest of my life. It's going to be okay. That's my attitude. I'm not wigging out over it. I'm not anticipating the worst, so that if I hear disappointing news, it won't be quite as devastating to me. Because if I lived my life in that way, God, I'd be putting myself through so much agony unnecessarily. Because I know this is like no big deal. If it is a big deal, I'll feel disappointment, won't I? And I'll probably be letting you in on it. You know, because that's who I am. But in the meantime, I'm not going to give myself a panic attack over it. That's stupid. That's just dumb. My glass is always half full. I'm a pretty positive thinker. There are times I get tripped up. Once in a blue moon I do. Shit happens. But overall, I'm thinking positive outcomes. A good 97% of the time. Okay. So your brain is your stress organ. That's the part of you that gets you in trouble. If you can learn to live in your body, do feeling work with somebody like I used to teach my clients, just stay in the body, experience the emotions, and stop being afraid of them, and thereby you shrink them. You shrink those unpleasant, uncomfortable, scary feelings. You shrink them. That was really the crux of my practice. And giving people really solid, concrete, self-worth building tools to repair the little boy or girl inside. But I'm making sure people use them. But if you can find somebody who can get you out of your fucking head, you might just get well. You might just leave your depression behind. You might just leave your anxiety behind. If they give you self-soothing tools like I do in one of my videos, how to soothe your pain or heal your pain from the outside in, if they can give you those tools and hold your feet to the fire and make sure you use them, you can heal yourself. You can heal yourself. But it takes a little guidance, takes a little instruction, takes a little somebody a little firm with you to make sure that you're not self-sabotaging every other minute by being non-compliant with treatment. And I've had plenty of those people along the way in my consulting practice. So, you give yourself panic attacks. It's one thing to feel anxious in the body. Maybe it's womb anxiety. Maybe you just all of a sudden wake up, you feel a sense of, I'm not safe today. I'm not feeling safe today. Okay, deep breathe into it. You're usually going to feel it in your chest or your solar plexus. And rub there with your hand. Just rub and soothe. Stay the fuck out of your head. Just rub and soothe that anxious feeling in your body. And focus on your breath. Very slow, controlled exhales. Deep breath all the way down to your groin. Fill up your entire body cavity. While you're rubbing and just focusing on that discomfort and on your breath. Stay out of your head. Don't start looking for reasons why you feel anxiety or anxious sensations. That's just stupid. That's going to keep your anxiety disorder alive forever. It's going to actually prompt panic attacks for you. The minute you start analyzing your feelings, you're in trouble. Stay out of your head. Keep the brain out of this process completely. And you might just learn how to become a healthy, whole, happy, contented, at peace inside human being. Bye for now.